So why do I feel like crap when I fast? Whether it be intermittently, or whether it be water fast, or whether it be just the mild amount of fasting that's involved in dieting. I'm not even going to say fasting. I'm going to say when I go into a caloric deficit, why do I feel like crap? Same principle applies. I'm going to answer that question. So, thing one, what's happening is when you rest the GI tract, you have to shift your energy in the body from breaking down things that are coming down the GI tract, foods, and turning them into energy and throwing them into the blood, to now stored energy. So the first place that you go for stored energy would be the liver, in the form of glycogen. And typically we have anywhere from 10 hours to 24 hours worth of glycogen. Usually in the first 24 hours of a fast, the glycogen stores are depleted. And this is just glucose that we've stored in these really long chains, so that when we have a fasting state, we can break them down and maintain energy for the body. So that's the first thing, you're shifting that. After you burn through that, at some point you shift over to breaking down fats. Okay, this is part of the whole weight loss thing. We want to break down the fats, we want to lose weight. Fats are one place that your body, in its wisdom, knows to put toxins that you do not have time to process. So, for example, you get exposed to toxins in your day-to-day living, and many or most, I would say, especially the ones that persist, the persistent organic pollutants, the POPs, as we call them, are fat soluble. So you tend to store them in the fats so that you can, it's like you're quarantining them off from the rest of the body, because fat tissue tends to be metabolically less active. You don't want some tissue that's really active, because obviously then you're gonna have the same problem with the persistent organic pollutants being there. That's why you take them out of the blood and you throw them into the fats. In the process of losing weight, or breaking down fats, I should just say, you liberate those toxins. They go into the bloodstream just like the energy source that you're using. And now you have the acute effects of these toxins in the blood. Now ultimately your body's going to clear them. Your liver's going to try to put them into the stool to clear them through the gastrointestinal tract, or possibly through the kidneys, depends on the toxin, but you're going to try to get rid of them, which is ultimately a good thing, but in the short term you're going to feel like crap physically. But secondarily, the same thing is happening on a mental emotional level. Fasting tends to put us in touch with some of our basic issues, core issues I would say, that most likely developed in infancy and childhood. So the act of depriving yourself of food for a period of time will quickly make you aware of some of these issues that you might have around food. So for example, someone who's morbidly obese, sometimes what's actually going on is, let's say they had a childhood where they were deprived of attention, of love from their primary caregiver. In order, nobody's perfect, and sometimes our parents did the wrong thing, and because they couldn't give us attention, let's say they worked 2 or 3 jobs and didn't have time for the child, they propped a bottle up in some of the time, or put them in front of the TV to nurture this child. Well, what happens? The child starts being so young, they can't process, they don't have the tools to go, that's probably not helpful parenting there. No, the kid doesn't know. So the baby or toddler begins to equate a bottle with love, right? Then later in life, this person has issues with food, right? They want to eat a lot. They want to fill this void of love with food. And it can become to the point of, addiction. So that's part of the point of fasting, is to drag up, to detox some of these core issues that may have developed, or not may have, most definitely developed around food. It's not just food though, right? Because think about going back to the infant. In infancy, we need to be touched. So there can be a lot of issues with intimacy that fasting can help expose. Our mothers that breastfed us, it was this primary form of nurturance that involved touch. I mean, you're I don't want to be well, I'm just gonna be blunt here. We're talking about fasting, but your mouth is on your mother's breast, and you are sucking milk out of it. Sometimes sexual issues can develop when a child isn't nurtured the way they ought to be. If they're deprived of touch, if they're deprived of love, and food, right? All these things. So if there's abuse, if there's trauma, if there's neglect, especially in childhood, then fasting can be one way of getting at what those issues are, bringing them to the surface, and to begin the process of detoxing them. And I say begin because it's important that these things be processed and understood, and part of that is bringing them out into the limelight, understanding what you're dealing with, opening the closet door, so that the skeletons in your closet can be dragged out into the light. So that's part of the reason you feel like crap. Feel free to post your comments, questions, concerns, maybe your experience with fasting in its various forms. And I will do a future video about really contraindications for fasting, because there are certain people groups that probably should not engage in fasting, or should be really careful and make sure that they're supervised if they fast. And I will do that, like I said, in the future. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll chat soon.